Okay, we should be good to go, Your Honor.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the April 5th meeting of the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board. And I would, let's note that it is 4:17. And let's call the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting to order. And I'll ask the clerk to please take roll of the board members.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Boss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Joe, are you
Here.
muted? There you go.
Sorry
Your
about
Honor,
that. I was muted.
No problem.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
All right. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended. Could we have a motion?
I'll move the agenda be approved.
No, right? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Item 3 is approving the annual agency plan for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 for the submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Board Communication number 21-154. Board, any questions on that? If not, could we get a motion?
I'll move approval of item 3.
All right, item 3 has been moved. Would you take a roll vote, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that completes our agenda. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none. Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting is adjourned. We will be back shortly for the Des Moines City Council meeting. Thank you. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 4:30. Welcome to the Moines City Council meeting for April 5th. Let's call the meeting to order, and I'll ask the clerk to please take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Boss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
Okay, item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended.
Move.
All right, and I would like to quickly say that on the consent agenda items tonight on 3 through 26, item 4A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, M, R, and T have been withdrawn because the inspections are incomplete. And those are for generally liquor license. 23C was withdrawn. The property abatement was completed. 26I was added, and it's a second reading of the ordinance. But other than that, the consent agenda has been moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Mayor, has the consent agenda been moved or the agenda has been moved?
The agenda.
All right, sorry. Aye.
Okay, any opposition? Hearing none, item passes. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda tonight. Those are items 3 through 26. And these are routine items, and they're generally enacted by one roll call vote with separate discussion unless someone, council or the public, and if there's a public request to pull something, it would those requests would require a majority vote of the council. But requests an item to be removed or considered separately. Tonight, item 21, Councilmember Voss wishes to speak. And item 26I, Councilmember Mandelbaum wishes to speak. If there are,
I'll move, Your
Connie,
Honor.
all
Mayor
right,
Connie, I think it's item number 20, at least, instead of 21.
you wanted 20 instead of 21.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor
I'll
Connie.
move item 3, Your Honor.
okay. Item 3 has been moved. Do we have any members of the public that would like to pull anything?
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I'm an organizer with People's Town Hall. I use he, him pronouns. I would like 26I pulled. If council wants to discuss it, public should be able to discuss as well. This is not controversial or routine. This is something that council themselves have disputed amongst themselves. So we need to discuss it. It's not non-controversial.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes?
Hi, my name is Dan, and I would just like to second Adam. I think the council should allow public discussion. That's all.
All right. All right, seeing no others. The items have been moved. Could we get a vote on that? And then let's discuss 26I.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Sorry, yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. The other question is the council open for any additional input or discussion from the public on item 26I? Somebody want to move? Nat? Well, hearing none, let's go ahead and move for a vote. Did we already pull the council on this?
Yes.
Good. Let's go to item 20 then. Item 20 is approving the urban renewal development agreement with Stapec Partners LLC, Tim Ripma, for the historic renovation of existing commercial building located at 112 Southeast 4th Street, Council Communication number 21-155. Carl.
Oh, thank you, Mayor County. I just have some brief comments to make about this. One, a shout out to Ryan Moffett for the extra push he made in getting the details hammered out on the East 4th Street upgrades and how this project fits in with the Market Street district. But my primary reason to speak on this is why this building is called Stapec Partners. And it's about a personality in the East Village that few of you know. Nick Stapec owns a pickup truck with one of the best vanity plates that I've ever seen. It's simply working man. And this just fits Nick to a T. I think either Kay or Laura may have a photo of his truck license plate. Over the last 25 years, Nick has had a hand in rehabbing just about every building that has been saved in the East Village. In our own loft, for example, Nick and a crew that he organized dug out our dirt floor basement, removed a foot of dirt, and poured a new floor. If Kirk Blunk was here today, I think he would all the great things said about Nick. I think Laura may have a second photo of Nick. Nick's on his heels now. He's been whacked with a double dose of cancer, and unable to work on this project. But Nick's name is going to live on this Stapec building. And with that, I will let my voice up and hope that we can vote on this item 20 now. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Carl. Carl moved it, I believe, and
I did. Thank you.
would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, this takes us to 26I. 26I is a ordinance. It's a second consideration. This is amending the municipal code by adding Division 3 subsections 2-105, 2-106, 2-107, 2-108, 2-109, 2-110, 2-111, 2-112 relating to City Council Ethics Code. Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to thank the council for continuing to work on this conflict of interest policy or ethics code. We have not had a policy like this previously. We have relied on what exists under state law and case law for our conflict of interest policy. I know Council Member Boson has worked really hard to get this on our agenda, And I think it's an important and positive step forward. My concern is that we have made the exceptions too broad, and I think we need to narrow those exceptions. And so I'd like to move the second reading, but I'd like, as part of that motion, to move that we strike section 2-109, subpart E and subpart F. So subpart E, to be clear, what I'm moving we strike is actions or transactions involving council member, immediate family members, or business partners of council members, as long as such city council action or transaction results in a substantial increase in the city tax base or directly results in a substantial improvement to a city neighborhood. For purposes of this exemption, substantial shall be as determined by the city's ethics officer on a case-by-case basis. So I move we strike all of that language. And then F is grant, loan, or financial assistance programs where the city council explicitly authorizes or directs that council members or their immediate family are eligible to participate. And I move we strike that language too. This just tightens up the exceptions and I think makes our policy stronger and better and avoids putting staff in situations where they're having to try and navigate this and navigate ambiguity in our policy. So with that, I'll make my motion and I'm happy to discuss it further too.
Council, any thoughts? Okay.
This is Westergaard. I didn't raise my hand, but my thoughts would be, I just want us to have a fair and equitable process to help people regardless of who they're related to, if it improves our neighborhoods. If it improves our neighborhoods and is good for our community, then that's what I want to see in a policy. And this would take that away. We have many blighted buildings in this city, and we should just be working to make our neighborhoods better. So I do not support the amendment that Josh is proposing.
Okay, Connie has her hand up.
Connie?
I support the amendments. I think that it tightens it up. Again, I go back to as far as policy, and if it's a limited amount of dollars, I think it's problematic because if somebody in staff has to make a decision on if there's only so many dollars available, I think it's problematic. And I think that having a good sound conflict of interest policy is what we should have.
Okay, Bill has his hand up.
Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this comes down to a decision of process. You know, we started on this 4 months ago. We have gone through dialogue. We have gotten a work session on it. We have worked with the city legal team, and we had a vote at the last meeting, unanimous, to go ahead with the code. And here we are, it's second reading, and all of a sudden we're picking it apart. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. Why weren't all these concerns brought up back in the start of this thing? And why did you vote unanimously to accept the first reading and then come in and want to change it on the second? I guess I don't know what the thought process is behind that. So, I mean, I'm going to go with my original vote. I think, the first process was good. It should have been followed through right to the end. So I can't support this one.
Joe has his hand up.
That was Bill.
I know, Joe has his hand up
Oh,
now.
Joe, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate everyone's comments. I wholeheartedly agree with Councilmember Gray. We've gone through this multiple times. I think the bigger question is we have a lobbyist that works for an environmental group that sits on our council and lobbies strictly only for environmental things. I think that's where the bigger problem lies than any of the other problems that are set out in this policy. And I don't think any of this policy relates to that. So until we're willing to look at an appearance of a conflict of interest or a conflict of interest in that tone, I won't support any other changes to this policy. Now, if we want to include some of the environmental issues that Josh's company lobbies for at the Capitol and lobbies for as he sits at the table for the same initiative and the same process, I'd be willing to look at some of the other things. But there's no way that shoe fits all of us. And until we're able to distinguish what that is and how that works for him and for others, I won't support that either. We had a good policy, and at the last minute, we're going to change it. I think we need to look deeper into some of the initiatives that someone getting paid to lobby for environmental initiatives to come and implement some of those environmental initiatives to our city because of his lobbying firm. That's more of a conflict than anything that we've got here.
Josh?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that Joe's actually read the ordinance because it does specifically address my work as a lobbyist. I've had conversations with the city attorney about how it does, and it addresses an appearance of a conflict, and that addresses the work that I do for an environmental nonprofit in two ways where I think it's likely to come up. One way is related to legislative bills, where as part of the job, I'm not our organization's primary lobbyist up at the Capitol, but because I do go up to the Capitol as part of my job, I register on every bill that our organization lobbies on. And so on any of those bills going forward, the city attorney has said that likely creates an appearance of a conflict of interest, and this policy would prohibit me from participating in discussions on any of those bills. It would also have an impact should the city, so we have a sustainability director now, we have, and we will be in the process of developing a comprehensive climate action plan. Other cities across the country, as part of their climate action plan, have chosen to intervene in front of the Public Utilities Commission. The bulk of the work that I do is in cases in front of the Public Utilities Commission. If as part of our plan in the future, we decide that we need to take a position on cases in front of the Public Utility Commission, I will not participate in those discussions at all, because that would be also an appearance of a conflict of interest, and this policy would prohibit me from participating in those discussions. So I do think this policy directly impacts the work I do as an environmental attorney, and I think it's important that we address all situations. So I'm happy that you brought that up and wanted to be clear about how it does impact my work.
All right, Joe, did you have your hand up?
I did, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. And I've read it over, and I've also had discussions with our city legal department. I believe if you want to push this as far as you want to push it, then I believe you need to look at part of the benchmarking criteria that we have laid out, some of those things that you were co-chair of. Those things are also part of the initiative from your company. And we've interacted those things into our city. We've did a lot of these things. And I just wonder going forward, each individual project that comes up, you're the first to ask about energy efficiency. You're the first to want to know what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. That is your job, Josh. And if you're going to strictly move to limit family members and limit council members and business partners from doing other things, then I believe we better take a look at your job even closer And I believe it just puts our city in a tough position going forward of how we're going to interact with that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we did look closer. I don't get paid for any of the work that I do on the city council. I have expertise in these areas. You can't take the fact that I have expertise in these areas and take that away from my ability to participate. That doesn't create a conflict. It doesn't create an appearance of a conflict. In fact, it was one of those things that I think contributed to why I was elected in the first place. And as you know, because we looked into this, I actually have cut back on my time. So I'm not even 100% time at my employer to avoid even the hint of impropriety, and that the work that I do on the council is being compensated for by my employer. So I know you want to raise that, but I think there are actually a lot more issues. You know, for example, we just had our fair chance ordinance pulled from a work session a couple weeks back, and that ordinance would directly impact your business. And so we can go down that path in terms of the breadth of these ordinances and how they impact people. But I don't get paid for any of the positions that I take on the council. My organization doesn't work on these initiatives. So I'm happy to have that discussion, because I don't have anything to hide on there, and we've already dug through it before.
Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate that I think all we want is a fair and objective process to be able to evaluate all the projects that come before us. And they should be looked at by their merit and what it does for the city. It shouldn't matter who the recipient is. If it fulfills the projects, the goals of the city, then it should be allowed. And it doesn't matter if it's a friend of a council member, if it's a relative, if it's a daughter. It doesn't matter. If it fulfills the goal of our city and makes it better, then economic development are the ones that will determine that. To put a policy in like this, you know what? I'm just going to say it. It's pitting council members against council members. There's a divisive group here that just wants to tear apart so they look better. And I'm going to vote no. And I just have to say that. I just think it's ridiculous, and it gets put in the newspaper, and nobody really even knows what the situations are. Leave it to economic development. If somebody qualifies for the funding or the tax abatement or whatever it is you want to talk about, then let economic development take care of that. They do a good job. They're smart, bright people. They don't need the council telling them what they can and can't do.
Connie?
I just wanted to say, I think this policy almost does the opposite. It makes it very clear. It doesn't put anybody in a position to determine, especially if there's limited dollars, on who gets what. We don't have to take votes on every single issue if something comes up. It's a clear policy that I think helps us going forward.
Okay. I think that the item has been moved. There has been significant discussion. I think I should add what I've been thinking, and I will have to say that on the first reading, and why I think a lot of us asked to have it not waive the second and third reading on the first one, was because there's a lot of detail to this. I would agree with the exceptions. I think that there's, benefits and programs that are offered across the city. to similarly situated residents, and there's not exactly a budget on it. Sometimes it's rain gardens and rain barrels and those kinds of things that everybody has access to, and a council member shouldn't be prohibited. But I sort of feel and have in my years on the council that I and my immediate family have stayed away from any perception of a conflict, especially on a financial benefit to my immediate family or business partners. So I have stayed away from it. So I like the way it's the whole thing has been framed. I do also personally have an issue with especially E, and I think F, we could still come back if there were certain grants or loans or financial assistance programs where we would have to go through this same policy where there may be an exception, but I think that I would go ahead and vote to support it with the removal of E and F. So I think that's the motion, is it not, Josh?
That is the motion, to remove E and F in 2-109,
Okay.
the exception section.
All right. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Boss, yes.
Gray,
No,
Westergaard,
No,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
No.
Your Honor, that's 4-3. Motion carries.
All right. And that's the second reading. It'll come back again for a third and final reading. That ends our consent agenda. It is 4:57, and let's move on. Ordinances, first consideration. This one amending Chapter 114 in the Municipal Code regarding traffic changes as follows. Council Communication number 21-165. It is a code modification to restrict parking on both sides of 12th Street from Walnut Street to Grand Avenue from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. on Fridays, Saturday, and Sunday. And B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by our city manager, Scott Sanders, and requires 6 votes. Any comment or a motion on that, 27A and B?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to comment and make a motion. So for as long as I've been on the council, I've heard a number of constituent complaints about what is happening downtown, particularly related to scooping the loop. We've had, I think, an increase in dangerous behavior where folks are speeding, where folks are drag racing. I've had reports of motorcycles up on the curb. It's disruptive, it's dangerous, and it's a huge problem for what is becoming an increasingly larger neighborhood. And our residents, I've heard from more and more folks, this year in particular, it seems to have reached a boiling point. I've heard more adamantly and more frequently and from a wider variety of constituents than previously about a very broad range of concerns, and that it is now starting to bleed into other times beyond just the weekend evenings. So I think we need to get a handle on the situation. Our police department has been working on that and been providing additional enforcement resources. I know they've been down issuing tickets for speeding violations, for reckless driving, for unmuffled noise. So I'm appreciative of the efforts to date. This code modification is designed to address where some of the congregating goes on. We know this doesn't solve everything, and this one action won't won't solve the whole piece, but design changes are a piece of how we solve this, both short-term and long-term. I think it's important that we continue to move forward with Connect Downtown. I think that is primarily a way of creating a safer set of streets downtown, a more vibrant set of streets where pedestrians, bikers, transit riders, people driving all have a safe experience downtown. That's the ultimate goal, is to create a safe experience for everyone. And I think we need to look at additional design changes in the short term until we can get Connect Downtown fully implemented. So I'm glad that our police department and our engineering department came up with this recommendation. I think we should continue to look for additional solutions, and I'm happy to move item 27A and 27B.
Okay, 27A and B have been moved. Council, any thoughts on this ordinance? If not, it's been moved.
Gatto has his
Mayor.
hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. First off, I agree with mostly everything that Josh has to say about the problems that were occurring downtown. Unfortunately, the code modification of restricting parking is going to hurt our downtown businesses more than it's going to help our downtown businesses on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. You know, I think there needs to be a design change. Obviously, people have been scooping the loop for probably 50 or more years with the same circle that everyone has probably done one time in their life or another, maybe not. But restricting parking on one street that's close to a lot of restaurants and places where people need to park to be able to be a patron at some of these places that need businesses right now, especially with all the offices closed. And there, I mean, we heard from Greg Edwards today that, you know, basically none of them are even open for lunch. That this is problematic, and this is a Band-Aid that we're going to put on it that really isn't probably going to do much. We need to do some design changes, and I'm not saying implement all of Connect Downtown, but I think that there can be some small design changes to grant to where we can make it two ways, like we did with some of the other streets, or Walnut, or Locust, or do some other things that we need to do so they stop making the big circle around like everyone does. But restricting parking on both sides of the street where we need parking downtown probably isn't going to be beneficial. And I won't support just doing this. If you want to make a change and you want to make a difference, there's speeders and traffic in the East Village that are just as bad and just as loud, with motorcycles, with residents down there. I mean, darn it, they're in all the residents, in all the neighborhoods where they're racing up and down streets and they're doing things like that. So, I mean, I think a design change is probably a better fit. Do I think we need to spend $30 million for Connect Downtown, or $20 million? I forget what the price tag is going to be on that. Probably not, but we can make some design changes quickly, short term, that would probably even encourage better traffic flow through downtown and less confusing, and would probably stop most of the loop scooping instead of eliminating parking on one street. I think that's silly, and we shouldn't do that. And I'm hoping that others will really think about it. This is a Band-Aid. We're not fixing anything. They're still going to go down there tonight and do the same thing, or even when there's restricted parking on that street, they're just not going to park on that street. So if you want to fix the problem, then let's fix the problem. But that doesn't mean you fix the problem by spending $20 million either. That's my comments. I won't support it, so you might as well get rid of B, maybe. I don't know, but you guys can vote on A if you want.
All right. Is Steve on, a city engineer on? Okay.
Yes, he is.
Steve, if you can, could you give us a couple ideas? I know that, and I don't disagree with what Joe's saying in terms of, a larger fix and looking at two-way streets, even though there are some people that kind of roar around, it changes the dynamic rather than have a multi-lane group go in the same direction. Could we talk a little bit about 12th Street and what we hope that will help? And where is the problem generally that's occurring downtown, and how many parking places are we talking about?
Yep, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, this is Steve Neighbor, City Engineer. So a couple things. Yeah, this proposal would restrict the parking from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on 12th Street between Grand and Walnut. The request did come from through our police department. Our traffic team did go down coincidentally just to check out the area to see what was going on, and people were definitely congregating on the street. So we can see why the police forwarded this to us. But ultimately, yeah, we agree. Moving forward with Connect Downtown, I don't have a more cost-effective solution at this time. We have to keep in mind, converting from a one-way to two-way, all our signal systems are set up for the one-way. So there's, that does present the challenges of geometric changes. We do already have in the works, as many of the council knows, some improvements. One coordinated with the WRA's Ingersoll Sewer Run project on the west end to start the one-way to two-way conversion, really looking west of 15th Street. And then we're also working, our city manager's office is working with us on funding, accelerating some improvements east of Fifth Avenue. So I know that's not the whole thing, but that's kind of the chunks we have to fight off in terms of Connect Downtown with the funding that we have. So, and I apologize, I don't have the exact number of parking spaces.
Is Captain Ness on?
Mayor, can I ask a question of Steve while he's on, before he goes?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to let the public know some of the senior police staff are at a funeral, including the chief. So some of them are not available at this meeting tonight.
So, Steve, let me ask you, what about, it's not going to stop anyone from turning down 14th or turning down where there's another two-way. It's not going to stop anyone by just restricting the parking on this street. What about if we take a 2 to 3 block area and make it a two, where we change the direction, so it's not a 4-lane racetrack going east and west on both those streets? Why couldn't we, and I'm not saying do it through all of downtown, but through some of the core, why don't we make the change? And I understand that we're going to have to buy some lights and we're going to have to paint, some lines on the street, but I'm not saying do the whole thing. But if you want to fix it and you want to stop people from racing around the racetrack of 4 lanes on each side, east and west, that's the way to do it. By changing parking, you're just hurting downtown businesses down there. That's all we're doing by restricting parking. It's oh yeah, we're going to restrict parking. Okay, well, where's people going to park at when they want to go down and go somewhere downtown?
Well,
Captain Ness?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Honorable Mayor and Council. As you mentioned, several senior staff are out this evening. I am familiar with the large amount of complaints that have come in increasingly this year, although it's been a many year and many decade problem, as Joe has mentioned. This does seem to be among the most serious areas of significance this year, and in the short term, it seemed like a reasonable approach to address what is seemingly getting a little out of hand while we wait for longer term solutions ahead.
Carl?
Explain to me how they don't go park somewhere else, Officer Ness. And how does that stop the loop scoopers that are causing the problems by not just parking on one street? How does this solve it?
Yeah, I can't perfectly profess that it's going to rid the problem. In fact, we have found that as we set up at one location, they are very agile and occasionally move to another. But this has been a popular place for problems this spring, and it seemed like a place that made some sense to target first as a small area that parking enforcement could help alleviate the larger problem. Again, you're probably right. We'll need to continue to monitor different areas, and it may not be the one-size-fits-all solution, but it was seen as a hotbed of activity in the recent weeks and months, and therefore it seemed like a good place to start.
Carl?
Thank you, Mayor County. Well, so I think this is not your grandfather's loop scooping, that some of this starts as early as 5 o'clock with a group that are rolling out their custom restored cars, and it lasts into the evening with different groups of people. There's also, because of the sculpture park, that there are people that are on foot just kind of congregating, hanging out, and I think largely in this area around 12th Street. So Joe, you're right. This doesn't solve it all. It's just, I think it's the first step. There have been other ideas that have been brought forward, including four-way flashing red lights at corners so that it would make every vehicle stop, narrowing down the street to take away one of the travel lanes. But I think we have to look at that. To look at this is just the first of many things that we'd like to accomplish in this area. So,
but we're hurting the businesses. But we're hurting the businesses by taking away their parking by doing this Band-Aid. We are flat out taking away money out of revenue out of these businesses, because people, if they know they don't have a place to park, they're not going down there anymore.
Well, I don't know if each of the businesses, I know we've, Paul Rothenberg has been in emails, and Mike Utley. This is the first step anyway. So Josh may have some more insight on that because it is in his ward. So,
well, if the concern, I mean, we can modify the time to maybe 8 p.m. So that would address maybe some of the dinner traffic. But by the time you get to 8 and 9 p.m., parking is more than available. The issue that has been, I think, a challenge is the congregating point that's sort of in the middle of that loop, which is why our officers recommended this particular street for a modification. So in this case, we're going with the recommendation of the folks who are on the ground trying to manage the problem and the challenges that they've been facing. So that's why I've made the motion. If it would get through today, if I modified it to 8 p.m., I'm happy to.
How about 10 p.m.?
10 p.m. will not solve the problem because the problem starts around 8:30. So And I think the problem of loop scooping is a bigger problem for our restaurants because it makes their patio spaces uninhabitable for anyone. So when you get that level of noise, when you get that level of, people are afraid to cross the street when this activity starts. So it doesn't really matter if they can park there because they're afraid to cross the street because it's so dangerous. So if we're not solving that problem, people are stopping going down there. People are stopping, the folks who live on the western side of the gateway aren't willing to walk to bars and restaurants because they don't feel safe doing so. So we need to figure out ways, and I know this is not going to be a perfect fit. And we're going to be back here talking about what our next solution is, but this gives our officers a tool that they specifically requested.
Okay, Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just bothered. I get that there's a problem downtown, but all neighborhoods are important and they're all equally important. I have been fighting a problem with drag racers coming down from Aurora down to Guthrie on Delaware for 2 years. I have met with the police, I've met with the sheriff, and the solution was for those business owners to hire off-duty policemen to patrol the area. Now, that gets very expensive for business owners to try to cut down on this. Last weekend, there were police calls that there were more than 100 drag racers congregating over in an area off of Delaware. So I'm not sure that I'm in favor of just concentrating on one area. Why aren't we taking a look at all of our neighborhoods? Because every neighborhood is important, and we have this problem all over our city with drag racing. In my ward anyway, it's drag racing. So I guess I'm just bothered. I don't know why we're gonna make these changes for downtown when I've been asking for it in Ward 2 for 2 years. And we haven't been able to come up with a solution. And I've met with the police, I've met with everybody that says, anybody that will meet. I've met with the sheriff, the police chief, everyone.
Okay, well, Captain Ness, take that message back. The moment we're talking about 12th Street between Walden and Grand, I see that, Joe, your hand's up again.
Yeah, I believe that I would compromise, Josh, to the 9 p.m. mark. If you would like to put that in there, I would be supportive of this. But 8 o'clock, downtown restaurants and downtown businesses, I believe that's a little too early. But it's disingenuous to think that we're going to solve this problem and there's not going to be any more loop scoopers going down there at any night, not just Friday, Saturday, or Sundays, by eliminating parking on one street. We have to look at the bigger picture. And like I said before, you don't have to do all of Connect Downtown. We can modify some of the traffic patterns so it stops. And a lot of it around the sculpture park in that area, you can modify it and we can fix this. It's going to cost us a little bit of money, but I understand that it's a problem, but it's also a problem to take away a revenue source, which is a parking spot down there. They don't have parking lots down there.
Joe, so
Yes, sir.
you're suggesting an amendment to, and I guess.
Yeah, make it 9 p.m.
Josh did say it's 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yes.
Josh, to try it, would you be willing to accept that amendment?
Yeah, if that'll get it done tonight, I'll do 9 p.m. and then we'll ask, and if we need to come back and make additional changes, we can put something else on a future agenda.
Okay. So the motion is amending the chapter 114 regarding the traffic changes. Item A will be amended to say 9 PM to 6 AM, and with final consideration on the ordinance, and requires 6 votes. Okay, poll the council.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. It is now 5:20, which moves us directly to the hearings. This evening for the hearing items, we have several urban renewal plan hearings and vacation hearings. There's a public improvement and other hearings for the urban renewal plan amendments, which are items 30, 31, and 32. Only comments concerning each plan are going to be considered germane. And those hearings will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per hearing, not to exceed 1 minute per person. For the remainder of the hearings this evening, any interested person may make germane comments at not to exceed 1 minute per person to a maximum of 5 minutes per hearing. As a reminder on the construction hearings, only comments as to the plans, the specifications, form of the documents, and the engineer's estimate and low bidder designation are going to be considered germane, and all other comments will be considered non-germane. For the vacation hearings, the only comments related to the proposal for that particular property are going to be considered germane. And for item 34, only comments related to the statutory criteria of the design, the route, and the location of the property acquisition concerning the project are going to be considered. So with that, let's go ahead and open up the hearings, and we'll start with item 30. Item 30 is on the proposed First Amendment to the urban renewal plan for the Oak Park Highland Park urban renewal area. Council communication number 21-146. A is the first consideration of the ordinance, Oakland Park, Highland Park, TIF District number 1. B is the first consideration of the ordinance, Oakland Park, Highland Park, TIF District number 2. And C is the first consideration of the ordinance, Oakland Park, Highland Park, TIF District number 3. Council, any comments? Linda?
I would like to move item 30A, B, and C. This is part of the redevelopment in the Highland Park area. We've already got great momentum going there, and these additions are just going to further enhance the entire community. And they're good projects, and I wish them much success.
All right. Council, any other comments? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up and see if there's, council, did somebody want to say something?
Oh, I was just asking, did she move to waive the second and third reading too?
No, I will. I'll waive the second and third reading.
Okay. All right, thank you. Germane comments from the general public, 1 minute per person. Anybody? All right, seeing none, poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, item 31 on the proposed Second Amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan for the 38th and Grand Urban Renewal Area, Council Communication number 21-147. A is the first consideration of the ordinance 38th and Grand TIF District number 2. Council,
I'm happy to, I'm happy to move item 31A, and I'll move to waive the second and third reading and after we've heard from the public.
Okay. All right, we'll open it up. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? All right, would you poll the council, please? And it's to include waiving the second and third reading.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 32 is on the proposed Eighth Amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan for the Ingersoll Grand Commercial Urban Renewal Area, Council Communication number 21-148. Josh?
Yeah, I'm happy to move item 32. And I don't think that requires a second or third reading.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right. General public, any comments? All right, would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, takes us to item 33. So on the vacation of a portion of 6th Avenue right-of-way adjoining 1230 6th Avenue and the conveyance of a permanent easement for airspace above city-owned property and a permanent easement for subsurface building encroachment to allow for the construction of a structural footing, roof overhang, and architectural elements as part of a 5-story storefront type 6th Avenue flats building to Anawim, AKA Anawim Housing, Inc., for $575. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waivers requested by Russ Frazier, the president, and requires 6 votes. All right. Council, any thoughts? Bill?
Yep, Mayor, if there's no other conversation on this, I'm going to move item 33, A and B.
All right. And let's go ahead and open it up and ask the general public if they have any comments. All right. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Big support of
Yes.
affordable housing.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 34, on the intent to commence a public improvement project to construct the Indianola Avenue reconstruction, East Army Post Road to Highway 69 project, and authorize acquisition of the necessary property interest. Council Communication number 21-161. Joe, any thoughts?
Your Honor, I'll move item 34 if there's no public comment.
All right, item 34 has been moved. Let's ask the public if they have any comments on this one. All right, seeing none, would you poll the council?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that takes us to item 35, which is on the conveyance of a vacated east-west alley right-of-way adjoining 200, 210, and 216 East Court Avenue to 217 East Second LC for $38,665. Council?
Your Honor, I'll move item 35 if there's no public comment.
All right, item 35 has been moved. Don't see any. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
yes,
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Takes us to item 36, which is on the 2021 Riverwalk improvements, the balustrade replacement resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receive and file bids and designating the lowest responsible bidder as TNT Tuck Pointing and Building Restoration LLC. Joshua L. Smyser is a member, $156,455. Council communication number 21-158. A is approving the contract and the bond and permission to sublet. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move item 36 and 36A is after we hear from the public.
Okey-doke. Unless there's no more council, we'll ask the public to any objections they might have to proposed plans or the specifications of contract or the estimated cost of this public improvement. And only those comments are going to be considered germane. Let's ask if there's anyone that needs to speak. All right, seeing none, would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
yes,
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 37 is on the Western Ingersoll Run Sewer Separation Phase 1. Resolution improving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receiving bids and designating the lowest responsible bidder as MPS Engineers, PC, doing business as Kingston Services, PC, Umesh G. Shetty is the president, $9,341,501.10. Council communication 21-160. A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. And B is approving the supplemental agreement number 2 to the professional services agreement PSA with Foth Infrastructure and Environment LLC for the construction phase services for the Western Ingersoll Run Sewer Separation Phase 1 project, $661,000. Council communication number 21-164. This is a big project that has been waiting decades to come. Josh, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, excited to see this project. There are going to be multiple phases, so glad to get this kicked off. Happy to move item 37A, 37A, and 37B after we hear from the public.
All right. Let's open it up and ask if there's any general public objections to the proposed plans or the specifications, contract, or the estimated cost of the improvement. And those are going to be the comments that are germane to this issue. 1 minute per person, if anyone is willing to speak. All right, would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
yes,
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. Let's note the time. It's 5:34. That completes the hearings, and let's get back to approving item 28, which is a review of zoning board of adjustment decision granting a variance from separation requirements to allow animal service use with an outdoor exercise run at 601 Army Post Road. And we would here choose one alternative, either A, B, or C. Council Communication 21-153. A is the City Council remands the decision and order to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for further study. The effective date of the board's decision will be deferred to 30 days from the date of the remand. Or B, the City Council takes no action to review the decision in the order, and the decision of the board will become final on April 29th of 2021. Or C, the City Council declines to remand the decision to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The decision of the board becomes final on this date today. Council, any discussion on this to review the Zoning Board of Adjustment decision granting a variance from separation requirements to allow the animal service use with an outdoor exercise run at 601 Army Post Road?
Your Honor, I think the board made the right decision, and going forward, I'd like to move 28C and have this be final on today's date, please.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, could you poll the council? The motion is 28C.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, we're going to get to our public speaking this evening. There's a number of people this evening to speak. So for those persons wishing to speak tonight during our public speaking part of our agenda, we will only be calling on those who have registered to speak. So because of the very large number of speakers this evening, each speaker is going to get 40 seconds to make their comments. So we'd like you to be concise and stay on point. And please keep your own time, because at the end of that 40 seconds, the clerk will announce time and the speaker's mic will be closed and we'll move immediately to the next speaker. And we want to hear from all of our residents, and we encourage residents to be respectful of others' viewpoints that are different from their own. While you may certainly disagree with a viewpoint, I want to remind everyone that the council's rules provide that any comments that are slanderous will result in that speaker being barred from further comment. As a presiding officer, I'll determine whether the comments are slanderous or not. And a fair warning, arguing with that decision of the presiding officer about the determination is not permitted, and doing so will be considered disruptive and result in the speaker being barred from further comment during any portion of the meeting. But I think I'd like to get started, and let's, item 29, request to speak. Our first speaker is Dan Gobble.
Yeah, it's actually Cobble, but that's okay. Mayor Clowney, councilors, my name is Dan Cobble. I am from Iowa City, but I'm speaking here in solidarity with my allies. The DMPD are domestic terrorists deploying tactics similar to the Gestapo. It's disgusting that council doesn't rein them in. Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill should not lead de-escalation training. They both have long histories of brutality and have cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits. I would also like to add that the way people have to sign up nearly a week in advance to speak at these meetings is bullshit, as is this 40-second time limit. It's obvious you people have no respect for the public. Fuck the DMPD and fuck you.
James Grimm.
Your Honor, is there a way that if foul language is used that they're immediately cut off? Because I don't need to waste 30 minutes of my time getting cussed at anymore. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to take care of that a little quicker.
James Grimm. James? All right, let's go on to Truly Winger.
Hello?
Just a
Hello,
minute.
can you hear me?
He's
Yeah.
on there. He's on a telephone.
Okay, James, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it real quick. Well, Des Moines Police Department has taken one of their most violent officers, Michael Fong, who, along with Greg Wessels, almost murdered a man down on Court Avenue. The de-escalation techniques that Michael Fong uses are things like ganging up on people, punching them in the kidney when they're not resisting, punching them in the face, handcuffing them, picking them up, and then dropping them face first on the concrete. So that's the guy you guys have doing de-escalation training. And Scott Sanders and anybody on the city council who is unwilling or unable or whatever the excuse is to speak out about it, you're just as bad as they are. And if anybody,
All right, Truly Wingert.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Truly. My pronouns are she, her. I think it's repugnant that Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill have been chosen to lead de-escalation trainings. These trainings are clearly a thinly veiled PR stunt to get us to stop talking about how violent and incompetent and a drain of resources DMPD is on Des Moines. O'Neill and Fong have records of extremely violent conduct, and their imperialist backgrounds are also big disqualifiers. It's embarrassing that that officials have pointed to that as something that makes them fit to lead these de-escalation trainings. DMPD can't be trusted to head any effort to reduce their own violent misconduct, and we needed to dismantle the SET, which disproportionately targets Black residents in Des Moines. Dana Wingert also needs to meet with the community to discuss real, effective public.
All right. Zishan Biadani.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, afternoon. My name is Zishan. I use him pronouns. I'd ask that the Moines City Council not only remove de-escalation trainers Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill, as well as dismantle the special enforcement team, and instead meet with community members in a much more transparent effort. I'd also like to refer to an Axios article that was released this morning that stated county may also ask council to consider suspending or banning the most egregious decorum rule breakers. It's embarrassing as a community member that I have to come on here and ask that officers with histories of excessive force in city paid out lawsuits not be on a de-escalation committee, while the mayor and council himself is apparently considering banning community members from public meetings. Thanks so much.
Time. All right, Adam Callanan.
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I'm with Des Moines People's Town Hall, and I use he, him pronouns. Thank you to everybody who's present at this meeting. Fair warning, council and the mayor do not know the rules they created, which is why you will hear county and city attorney probably having illegal side conversations throughout the meeting. After Scott Sanders received hundreds of phone calls from the community about DMPD's selection of violent de-escalation trainers, he doubled down, citing that Michael Fong had military experience. Sanders didn't have a rebuttal and didn't disagree that these were violent officers. He didn't even say they learned better. He just said that it didn't matter because they had military experiences. If these are really the best DMPD has to offer, that's frankly embarrassing and a condemnation on the whole DMPD and the whole city. Scott's paid over $200,000, isn't elected, and works for us. Scott's also putting his, that's actually not true anymore. Through the city.
Okay, John Noble. John?
You hear me?
Yes.
Sean O'Neill, my name is John Noble, he, him pronouns. Sean O'Neill and Michael Fong must be immediately removed from the de-escalation training, and Dana Wingert must stop dodging meetings with Des Moines residents. The unelected Dana Wingert answers to the unelected Scott Sanders, who answers to the city council, and you, city council, are supposed to answer to us. We are sick of city council refusing to step up and lead, leaving the leadership to Des Moines BLM, People's Town Hall, and Iowa CCI. The community demands that you remove Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill now and implement real public safety solutions that give police funds back to the community. We are tired of every council member showing nothing but cowardice. Do your damn job.
Jalen Cavill.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm on here to speak out against Sean O'Neill and Mike Fong and the violent and racist Des Moines Police Department. You all need to do your jobs and act on this. It's completely ridiculous that you think it is appropriate for violent police officers to be leading a de-escalation training. All the city council members are jokes. They need to lose their job. And Joe Gatto, since you're scared of cuss words, I just want to say, fuck you, Joe Gatto. Thanks.
Jacqueline Thompson.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
members of City Council, I hope you would agree that it's important for our police officers to become those who keep peace. In my opinion, this requires both a different mindset and skill set than those who would merely enforce the law and escalate order. And addressing concerns that I and others have to the appointment of Officer Fong as one of the trainers for the police department's de-escalation training, I haven't heard what, if any, steps were taken to address his past excessive force conduct so that his future interactions would be modified. With no assurances of any interventions, I would ask that you direct City Manager Sanders and/or Chief Winger to replace him on the DX.
Denver Foot.
Hello, my name is Denver Foot. I use she, her pronouns. I'm here asking for City Council to do the bare minimum to remove Michael Fong and Sheen O'Neill from leading the de-escalation training. It's literally should be common sense. An officer with multiple reports of violence, abuse should not be leading and should not be an officer. City Council sits silent on this, and that is injustice. It condones violence into our communities. City Council's silence on this issue speaks volumes. It proves their blatant disregard for safe living, for equality, and care for all. We need more than de-escalation training. We need defunding of the police department. Also, if you're... Hello?
Lennon Cardwell.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Lennon and my pronouns are she, her. I am demanding that Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill be removed as de-escalation trainers for DMPD. It is very disturbing and upsetting that two officers who have a history of excessive force will be allowed to lead a training on de-escalation. We already know that de-escalation training is the absolute bare minimum that can be done to help solve issues with law enforcement, and it should be mandatory that this training be led by officers with no record. I also would like to echo CCI's demands that Chief Winger meet with community members to begin discussing public safety solutions. DMPD as a whole is not representative of our community, and they need to be taking the proper steps to listen to community members' perspectives. So I would ask you all to do your job and please.
Lily Nellens.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Lily Nellen, she, her pronouns. Attacking journalists, choking people with tear gas and pepper spray, beating them while they're handcuffed. These are all considered war crimes. That's how extremely violent these tactics are. And they're used by Des Moines police on a regular basis. So what does council do? Entrust Michael Fong to lead de-escalation training. He pepper sprayed and beat a man, then slammed his face into the ground, costing taxpayers $800,000. He was also suspended for beating a handcuffed person. It's ridiculous to think 2 hours of training will rein in DMPD's brutality. It's an endorsement of their violence to look the other way while training is led by those most enthusiastic about abusing your constituents. Do the bare fucking minimum.
Time.
Frederick Gaddy.
The community is well aware that the chief of police is more open to meeting with groups outside of Des Moines than he is to meet with the taxpayers who pay his salary. The city manager is also been proven to be tone deaf when citizens come, when it comes to community questions about policing. Thus, city council members, we must hold you accountable to address the concerns of Des Moines residents. These appointments by Wingard and Sanders are an affront to the spirit and the letter of the racial profiling ordinance, and we demand that you take appropriate action to address the concerns of the community and remove these two officers from the de-escalation training program. This is something that must be done since they've already cost the city over $800.
Caitlin Hansen. Caitlin Hansen.
Caitlin, if you're on a telephone, could you hit *9 and raise your hand?
All right, let's go on to Brenda McDonald.
Star 6 to speak, Brenda.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Here we find ourselves in another dysfunctional meeting because a group of people cannot hold themselves accountable with their actions or their words. I guess I want to applaud our legislation for passing a bill that supports the safety of the people of the state of Iowa and backing the blue. And I hope that the council also sees that the bigger picture is
Shirley Evans.
Shirley, if you're on a phone, please hit star 9 to raise your hand. And the star 6 to unmute.
okay. Am I here?
Shirley?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, first of all, I would like to address the situation regarding defunding the police. I'm totally against it, and we need our police department for the people that are speaking before me, because they evidently have no respect for the law, and I'm tired of hearing their negative attitudes, and they're like a team. They got together. They don't like the people that are training our police. If they're worried about it, they need to get involved.
Time.
Mate Mohammed.
Phone, please hit star 9.
All right, let's move on to Lily.
Again, if you're on a telephone, hit star 9. I don't see your name anywhere, so you must raise your hand by hitting star 9. Your Honor, do you want to move on?
Okay, Brad Titus.
Good evening, Mayor County. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Brad Titus, City of Des Moines taxpayer, voter, and CCI racial justice team member. I feel that the DMPD has clearly demonstrated a need for external, independent, professional de-escalation training with a track record of reducing police violence. The current plan put forth does not possess these essential elements. I call for the council to instruct the city manager, to instruct the police chief, to return to the council within 30 days with a plan to address these essential.
Jacob Grobe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Jacob Grobe, you see him pronouns. Scott Sanders said he was supportive of having Michael Fong leading de-escalation training with DMPD. someone who's cost the city $800,000 for using excessive force. If that's the best person that DMPD can find to run de-escalation training, then you've proved our point that the whole damn department is guilty and needs to be defunded. And why is it that Scott Sanders is only one commenting? Mayor and city council, you have a job to represent your constituents, and the city is supposed to work for us, the people. We've been here every meeting calling on you to hold DMPD accountable because we've all had our rights violated. We've been shot with weapons and abandoned.
Amy Bettel.
Amy, if you're on a phone, please hit *9. I don't see your name.
Let's move on to Ginny Antrim.
If you're on a phone, Ginny, hit *9.
Okay, let's move on to Peter Clay. Peter Clay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Peter Clay, CCI, Racial Justice Team Member, Des Moines. The racial profiling ordinance enacted last year was a beginning. However, much remains to improve and strengthen it. Going forward, the transparency and accountability are essential to building positive relationships. Regarding the team to implement the ordinance mandated de-escalation training, that team needs to include resources, both personnel and curriculum, from outside the department. Every single member of the training team must have exemplary credentials. Thank you.
Jane Alderman.
Jane, if you're on a phone, please hit *9 to raise your hand.
Let's move on to Janet Thurtle.
I think this one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, who's this?
Okay. Jane Alderman, CCI
Okay,
Racial Justice Team. March 8th, we asked 2 questions. We didn't get an answer who was providing de-escalation training. March 22nd, we asked why Sergeant Fong was a trainer. Also, we learned Officer O'Neill, who had a racial profiling charge for which the city paid a settlement, is also a trainer. Why didn't you disclose this? Because you knew the community would be concerned? This is disrespect. At your March 22nd meeting, we asked 3 questions with no response. We asked to meet with Chief Wingert. We've been asking for 5 years. Council, will you make it happen? Can a council member let us know by April 9th? And also, are you ending the ineffective special enforcement? Time.
Janet Thurtle.
Janet, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Okay, start over.
No, you're good. Go.
Okay, Michael Fong uses excessive and violent actions. There appears no effort on his part to de-escalate, just the opposite. This is not the only charge against Mr. Fong. I do not know him. I have never met him. Perhaps he has had a complete change of heart and character since 2018 and no longer believes in violence as an answer to conflict. I hope this is true. But even if it is, the man is the absolute wrong choice to lead a de-escalation training. The message sends a blatant slap in the face to Des Moines citizens who want to be able to trust our police and who believe in peaceful resolution to conflict. Please do the only right thing and remove Michael Fong from the position of trainer on the de-escalation team. Thank you.
Janice Hawkins.
Janice, please unmute yourself.
Janice? All right, let's move on to Alec Johnson. Alec?
That's Janice. He's
All
not
right.
there, Your Honor.
Sorry.
He's not there.
Let's move on to KT Menke.
My pronouns are they, them. May 31st, children and teens of color were brutally attacked by the DMPD terrorists, yet not one DMPD officer has been held accountable to this day. Accountability is crucial. For years, Iowa CCI has asked DMPD to share data and train officers in de-escalation and implicit bias, yet Chief Wingert refuses to meet with anyone outside of the DMPD and Scott Sanders. The corruption within is sickening and deeply concerning that Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill, two historically violent officers, are training DMPD and de-escalation. City Council, it's time to dismantle Special Forces unit until they're gone. That they're designed to racially profile and terrorize people in our cities. Defund local terrorists like the DMPD. Wingert, face your community with a citizen review board. Indira, you rock. Time.
Molly Arndt.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Molly Arndt. My pronouns are they, them, and she, her, and I live in Ward 1. I wanted to use my absurdly short amount of time today to demand council remove Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill from DMPD's de-escalation trainings and dismantle the special enforcement team. It is clear that these trainings are actually meant to reinforce the violent white supremacist policing problem that we have here in Des Moines, as DMPD continues to terrorize our neighborhoods. Instead of having garbage trainings that only further encourage violence, I'm asking that City Council actually listen to their constituents and do their jobs by having Chief Wingert meet with and listen to community members like Iowa CCI and People's Town Hall who are calling for real public safety solutions like defund.
Sherry Hawk.
Yes, I find it appalling that Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill even have jobs, let alone being promoted to training other officers in de-escalating techniques that they obviously haven't mastered themselves. All I can say is you can't make this stuff up. It is so grotesque. And I just have to beg of you to remove them from having any control over de-escalation training.
Vanessa. Vanessa?
Vanessa, raise your hand if you're on. And if you're on a phone, hit *9.
All right, let's move on to Payton.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello, Council, Mayor Clowney, Gatto. It's clear to me that you never listen to what the public has to say and don't even want to hear us based on how you treat these meetings and the new information we got that you want to completely ban people from speaking and attending meetings altogether. But there's a public call that you need to answer to fix this de-escalation training. The best de-escalation training you could do is obviously firing all the officers you have, since none of them can seem to resist beating defenseless people they're supposed to be protecting and serving. You have the power to withhold funds from the police until they stop attacking your constituents, or at least, at the very least, make them meet with the public. You have the power. Stop being fucking babies and use it.
Deborah Howell.
Hit *6 to unmute yourself, Deborah. There you go.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. I'd just like to talk a little bit about everyone complaining because they are not being listened to. In the first place, if everyone might, or people may listen to you if you were a little more respectful and mature instead of acting like a bunch of little children. And you may also quit demanding things and ask for things nicely. Children demand. Other people know how to talk to people. You need to have a little bit more correct phone etiquette and learn how to conduct your business. May I suggest that we get this?
Reverend Emily Ewing.
Reverend Emily Ewing, they, them pronouns. As a pastor, I know what it is to have power in a community. Police have tremendous amounts of power, but with power must come responsibility and accountability. Des Moines has faced the problem of state violence from police for years, but it came to light in a new way last summer. Chief Wingert needs to meet with the community to discuss and implement real solutions for the safety of the public, not to hire officers who have used excessive force to be de-escalation trainers. It's Scott Sanders' job to hold DMPD and Chief Wingert accountable. It's City Council's job to hold Scott Sanders accountable as city manager. Do your jobs, listen to and meet with the community, stop causing harm.
Emily Anderson.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Emily Anderson, a 25-year-old woman, Deborah, who is here to demand that City Council request the removal of Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill from the DMPD de-escalation training program. I'm demanding this because you work for us and that both individuals have documented incidents of illegal and violent behavior against Des Moines residents. This clearly shows that they are unable or worse, unwilling to appropriately perform their duties. And as officers, I cannot trust them to train others. I demand the council to request the immediate removal of Fong and O'Neill as DMPD trainers.
Paula Mahoney. Maybe it's Mahoney.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me? All
Yes, we
right.
can.
Hello. Okay, the last name is Mahone, and I'm calling because I want to encourage the council to listen and seriously consider the request that people are making tonight to remove Officers Fong and O'Neill. De-escalation training is about improving the response of officers to crisis situations so that the public and the officers are safer. And this kind of training requires visionary leadership. People have to be accountable, empathetic, credible, and inspirational. And nothing that I have heard about these officers meet those qualities.
Casey Erickson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Casey Erickson, he or they pronouns. We need to remove Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill as de-escalation trainers, disband the special enforcement team, and fire Dana Winger and Scott Sanders. I would also like to see council discuss using the $1 million surplus from our snow removal fund this year to work with DART to make bus stops accessible when it snows next winter. In conclusion, I would like to say to Frank County and Joe Gatto, fuck you.
Alejandro Miguera Ortiz.
Winger has told you time and time again that these are his best men. That means that the city's quote unquote best cops have a history of violence. That very clearly illustrates the culture of DMPD as well as the leadership of Winger and Sanders. This is going to be your legacy. Under this leadership, violent cops will continue to get promotions and will be forced to waste millions on lawsuits. Having cops teach de-escalation training is like having pigs teach you how to clean yourself. De-escalation should be available for all members of our community, but it should not be taught by cops. Now fire Winger and Sanders.
Leah Plath. Leah?
That was my fault. I just done there.
Hi, my name is Leah Plath. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling for the removal of de-escalation trainers Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill. Many citizens have already expressed great concern over this, but the point needs to be reiterated that if a judge can find Fong guilty of excessive force, then it seems pretty simple to understand that this would be a dangerous choice to move forward with. We need Chief Wingert to connect with the community to come up with better public safety options. It seems counterintuitive to have racist, sexist, violent police leading our public safety. This is the bare minimum what you all should be doing to hold yourselves accountable. Also, Jason Clayworth and Brink County are fucking each other.
Enough. Indira Shoemaker.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Indira Shimiko Shi here. It's pretty simple. You know, CCI's demands remove Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill from DMPD's de-escalation training. But here's the thing, CCI makes demands and you ignore them or barely meet them. BLM and People's Town Hall make demands and you set up new rules to silence us. I'm personally sick of making demands to you. It's clear that any move that weakens your violent and oppressive hold on the people of Des Moines is not one you're going to make. You employ violent and aggressive cops as de-escalation trainers. Your neighborhood inspector is going to violently uproot another houseless camp on the 13th of this month. And you want to bring armed guards to City Hall and start banning people permanently from speaking at meetings in response to us speaking out against you. The more you tighten your hold.
Luke Bascom.
Bascom, he, him pronouns. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you all continue to create a reputation for yourselves as protecting violent institutions and the status quo instead of the residents of this city. You need to take note of the 40 people speaking out tonight and actually take action, which you never do. The news that just broke about DMPD's escalation training only reemphasizes that the racial profiling ban passed over the summer was a PR stunt. Dana Wingert, with the approval of you all, handpicked violent offenders to lead the training. And not only do officers Fong and O'Neill need to be fired, but we need the city council to defund the racist police department and ban pretextual stops. We can't even trust DMPD to select instructors for trainings.
Iris Olivares. Iris?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So my name is Iris Olivares. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of CCI. I just want to let all the Karens know on this call that we are not anti-police. We are anti-bad policing. We recently found out that Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill are the 2 out of the 5 officers providing de-escalation training for the DMPD. This is unacceptable. This is a slap to the face. We need accountability and transparency from you, City Council. We demand you remove officers Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill from the de-escalation training team and dismantle the set team as it has proven to be ineffective. We also demand a meeting with Chief Wingert that we have requested over several years now.
Giovanni Baena.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, my name is Giovanni Jesus Bahena. He, she, they interchangeably. My grandmother is and was a caretaker in Des Moines and took care of the Debras, the Brendas, the Shirleys. Shit, my grandmother held Joe Sarcone Sr.'s hand in the hospital as he died. I saw how the hobnobs of the city treat people like my grandmother, which is why I am not sorry, and I will never apologize for making fun of the bigots of this city. Thank you.
Luis Gomez. Luis?
Hi, I'm speaking today about removing Michael Fong and Sean O'Neill from the de-escalation task force. They haven't proved that they're capable of treating anyone humanely, and it doesn't really comfort me to know that they served in the military either. That makes me think they're actually more inclined to violent tactics on the job. A lot of other folks have echoed that, but I want to speak specifically about the bullshit calls.
Laurel Clinton. Laurel Clinton.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Laurel Clinton, Iowa CCI. And it's unfortunate that our community had to come and ask for de-escalation training to begin with. Council members, you're over the city manager, who is over the chief of police and the police department. We need you as city leaders to lead by taking the initiative to take back control of who provides de-escalation training and then outsource it. It's imperative that you get it right the first time for best practices, transparency, and for public safety. Remember, speed of the leaders, speed of the group. Thank you.
Brad Wiesenmeyer.
Brad Weisenmeyer, he, him, or they, them pronouns. I'm here in Des Moines. I would really like Joe Gatto to turn his camera back on because he's my counselor. I'm here to echo, thank you, Joe Gatto. I'm here to echo the concerns and demands of my neighbors. Also, now that you're here, Joe, I really appreciate that. You know, I think it's real bullshit, and I think we
All right, we need.
Your Honor, I'll move to receive and file all comments.
All right, there's a motion to receive and file all the comments. I would also encourage any citizens that had additional thoughts to please forward them to the city clerk or the city manager's office for review and a response. We have a motion on the table to receive